So we have to use much less water. Like when I do the chicken stew, I put all the vegetables and chicken and everything cut up in the pot with the herbs and spices and no water at all. I do cheat and put a half a cup of white wine in. And I put the lid on tight, put it in the solar cooker for 4 hours. You take it out, open it, and there's enough liquid to make gravy. It all comes out of the food during the cooking. Now here's something that most people don't know. It takes no energy to cook food, none. All the energy is used to get the food up to the cooking temperature and hold it there until it's cooked. That's the only thing you use the energy for. And over half of the firewood in trees in the world are cut down by poor people for cooking. They outdo all the major multinational lumber companies and everything. Coffee roasting in the solar oven. Christina figured out how to do this, and now all the women do. And we're actually studying it. That's Adelina and her daughters and Susan and I are teaching them how to be little scientists. They actually measure what's going on during the roasting of coffee. You have to get it up to 155 degrees Celsius in order for this reaction to take place where the coffee bean suddenly there's an exothermic reaction, and suddenly it's basically caramelizing the sugars, and you get a burst of energy inside which roasts the coffee. And it takes about 2 days to do the coffee properly, and it's very strong and very mellow. We gave a paper on this some time ago, and Adelina and Susan and I are co-authors on the scientific paper. It was in Denver. Susan brought 5 pounds of the solar roasted coffee to the conference. I arranged for us to be the last paper before the coffee break. And she talked to the women at the hotel who take care of the coffee urns. They all speak Spanish, of course, and had them switch the coffee. So at the end of the talk, people are talking about asking questions about the thermodynamics and all that. Finally, somebody says, "What does the coffee taste like?" She says, "Come on back and try it out," because they roll the urns on tables right into the back of the room. I do like to have a little show business in a scientific paper. It does taste very, very nice, but it's not commercially available. They just do it for themselves, basically. Solar dryers for herbs and fruit and everything. Plans for these are in the main solar cooker, by the way. I mean, the main solar primer. There, a woman, she dried hibiscus petals, flower petals, and she's making hibiscus soap by melting lard and the hibiscus petals together. You then pour boiling water through wood ashes, and the lye you get, you mix that in, and that's how you make soap. It's very nice, smells nice. It's pink color because hibiscus, Rosa jamaica in Spanish is the flower. And you probably use it also for medicine, don't you?
No, it's in South America. We don't have that. That's a flower, right?
Yeah, it is.
Jamaica.
Okay, Jamaica means it's Jamaican rose is what you translate it as. So it's very common in Central America. Of course, it comes from Jamaica. But anyway, that's it. This is the photovoltaic still. This is a variation on the hybrid. You have 2 inputs, seawater and sunlight, and you have 3 outputs. Fresh water, more electricity than the cells would make otherwise, and sea salt. Here's a diagram of how you separate it. You have wicks, and you run seawater through the wicks, and the solar cells the reflectors put more light on the solar cells. The heat from the cells is carried on the aluminum extrusions to the wicks. The water evaporates. It condenses on the reflectors and the cover. And the one we built, it's 1 by 4 feet. It makes 1.5 liters of fresh water a day. Now this is what the university in Chile wants me to come down and work with them on, because they have the Atacama Desert. Isn't that Atacama? What's the name of it?
It's
Atacama?
What?
Atacama.
Atacama. The Atacama Desert, where it's never been known to rain in human history. It's right on the Pacific Ocean. They have two things in the Atacama Desert: lots of sun and lots of sea water from the Pacific. And there are two things they really want and don't have. They have no fresh water and no electricity. So that's why they want to work on this. I think now the fresh water comes out hot because the reflectors are hot, and the seawater goes in cold. So we're going to arrange for heat exchange. You're going to put tubes on the reflectors, and the incoming seawater will cool the reflectors and preheat the seawater. I think we can get double the amount of distillation and keep the amount of electricity about the same. So anyway, this is a project we're working on. This is the group that did it. We had a grant from the Canadian government to work with landmine victims. And everybody there is a landmine victim. The man in the back in the white shirt is missing both legs. He rides a horse and takes care of a farm that way. And Marco Antonio is the person there soldering. He actually runs the factory. He's developed new methods of encapsulating solar cells. That one using the paper and so forth is his system. And he and I and Susan and a couple of others gave a scientific paper at a conference in Dresden, Germany a couple of years ago. It was the most important solar conference in the world that year. We gave a paper on the new method of encapsulation with the fiber reinforcing behind the cells. And that method is now becoming the industry standard. Although they use ethylene vinyl acetate, we still use the silicone. Although I'm doing experiments now with, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that, with ethylene vinyl acetate encapsulation, because the silicone is $300 a gallon. And we're trying to get a cheaper way to do this. Biogas. You mix cow manure and kitchen scraps and water, and you put it in this thing, and bacteria generate gas, which is a mixture of methane and carbon monoxide and some mercaptans and things. And you go out and you see the Coke bottle. That's the pressure. That's the pressure controller. You adjust it by how deep in the Coke bottle the tube is, and the gas goes into a stove. And there is the stove with the kids roasting marshmallows. Perfectly blue flame. When it's working properly, you can go from a tiny simmer to full boil, and the flame never has a yellow tip on it, and there's no smell whatsoever when it's burning properly. So this is a way. We actually have done about 6 of these now, including a couple of schools where the outhouses for the little boys and little girls have tubes going to the biodigester, and they use the gas to cook lunch for the kids. It's sort of a positive feedback mechanism here. I went to the Mosquito Coast, which is a very hard to get to from the rest of the country. Yes?
So what does mosquito mean?
It is named after the Indian tribe that's there. They speak a language called Mosquito, which is no relation to the Mayan language that the Indians in western Nicaragua speak. And it's actually related to the Venezuelan Indians, and genetically they're related because there's this jungle in between, but they can come along the coast by boat. So it's a totally different culture. In fact, the people there speak 2 different languages. They speak Mosquito, and there are also a lot of escaped slaves from Jamaica and people like that, just sort of the dregs of the earth, you know. The other primitive tongue they speak is English, man. And so Nicaragua, they actually have 3 languages.